Hello. Dear ladies and gentlemen, dear friends of Ukraine, it's a great pleasure to see you this morning. We thank you very much for your participation and being today with Ukrainian people and the Embassy of Ukraine in the Kingdom of Thailand. You may ask me, what is happening in Ukraine right now? It's hard and painful to describe the situation with words. Let us see the reality on the video. Thank you. I suggest to rise in the memory of all those Ukrainians and foreigners killed by Russian invaders and keep a moment of silence. Thank you. I would like to brief you on recent developments around Russia's military aggression against Ukraine and try to give you a better understanding on what is going on in Ukraine. But first of all, I would like to express deepest gratitude and appreciation for Royal Thai government and Thai people for their significant and substantial support of Ukraine on the way to achieve peace. As you may know, the Kingdom of Thailand has joined 140 other countries during the vote in favor of the UN General Assembly Resolution ES-11/1, demanding that Russia immediately ends war and its military aggression against Ukraine. Thai people and businesses donated almost 7 million Thai baht supporting peace in Ukraine for the moment. And we are sure that the donations will continue. We really need these donations now. Dear sirs, as the Russian troops have openly attacked Ukraine on 21st of February 2022, invading Ukrainian sovereign territory with regular troops, armored vehicles, artillery, aviation, and missiles, killing civilians and ruining infrastructure. The action of Russian Federation fall under the definition of aggression in accordance with the provision of the UN General Assembly Resolution 3214 definition on aggression. The Russian troops continue attacking Ukraine from the territory of Russia, Belarus, and the temporarily occupied parts of Ukraine, of Donetsk, Lugansk regions, and Crimea. This is a full-scale war launched by Russia against Ukraine. Not a conflict in Ukraine, not an operation as Russian authorities may claim. Despite significant advantages, Russia failed to reach its key goals. Ukraine did not surrender in 3 days as Kremlin was expecting. Kyiv as a political and military command center remains intact. No big cities, with the only exception of Kherson, were taken. Ukraine managed to establish defense and counterattack. Russian troops regroup and attempt to control the already captured positions. No one greets Russia in Ukraine. In the towns temporarily occupied by Russian troops, Ukrainian population is actively protesting against them. In the city of Kherson, Russian occupiers attempted to establish another fake People's Republic. Both residents and local authorities reject this stage show. Dear friends of Ukraine, it should be said that the humanitarian situation in Ukraine is rapidly deteriorating. The residential areas of such cities as Kharkiv, Chernihiv, Sumy, Melitopol, Mariupol, and outskirts of Kiev, and many others are intensively shelled, leaving daily dozens of innocent citizens killed and wounded. The worst situation remains in the besieged city of Mariupol, in which have more than 2,300 civilians lost their lives due to Russian attacks and blockage. The city infrastructure, including residential buildings and hospital, continues to be destroyed. The UN Human Rights recorded 1,900 confirmed civilian casualties in Ukraine, 726 persons killed, and 1,174 wounded. Many people have lost their homes. The humanitarian corridors are regularly violated by the Russian Federation and Russian troops. According to the UN High Commissioner for Refugees data, 3.1 million persons left Ukraine at the moment. According to the preliminary estimates of Cabinet of Ministers of Ukraine, damage to Ukraine's economy has already reached 565 billion USD. Dear sirs, dear friends of Ukraine, we urgently need humanitarian assistance and call upon governments to consider providing Ukraine with humanitarian aid. In this regard, a number of steps have been taken to simplify the procedure of delivery of humanitarian assistance through the state border of Ukraine for the period of duration of martial law. For the moment, Ukraine received more than 70,000 tons of humanitarian aid. We are grateful to our partners and expect a more active involvement of international organizations in humanitarian aid, including establishing of humanitarian corridors blocked by the Russian troops, ensuring delivery of humanitarian relief to the medical facilities, and provision of critical food supply to the civilian population. Anyway, Ukraine continues to fight and will win. Ukraine armed forces fight Russia's armed forces, inflicting devastating blows to them. More than 100,000 Ukrainian citizens have already joined the territorial defense units. Almost 20,000 volunteers from 52 countries of the world are coming from abroad to join the Ukrainian International Legion. 72% of Ukrainian citizens are convinced that we will win this defensive war against Russia. Mayors of Ukrainian towns reject Russia's proposals to surrender. What is very important, the world supports Ukraine, and Russia becomes increasingly isolated. We welcome all steps made by foreign governments and international organizations to bring Russia to justice. The European Court of Human Rights decided to indicate to the government of Russia to refrain from military attacks against civilians and civilian objects. International Criminal Court prosecutor opened an investigation into the situation in Ukraine. The ICC investigators have already been sent to Ukraine to collect evidence. And finally, just before yesterday, the UN's International Court of Justice has ordered Russia to halt its invasion of Ukraine, saying the court has not seen any evidence of support the Kremlin's justification for the war. The court ruled by setting Wars to 2 for a provisional order that the Russian Federation still immediately suspend military operation that is commenced on 21st of February 2022 in the territory of Ukraine. Further actions of international community need to be done immediately. No flight zone over Ukraine to cease the shelling of civilians by Russia and ensure the safety of critical infrastructure such as nuclear power plants. Strengthening Ukrainian air defense system, including by providing military aircrafts. Disconnect all Russian banks from SWIFT. Impose trade embargo on Russia, including in oil and gas sector, as well as sales of gold and minerals. Ban on all Russian channels of propaganda broadcasting fakes on Russia's war in Ukraine. Supporting Ukraine with protective equipment, ammunition, fuel, and whatever else necessary to counter the biggest army in the continent. Deputinizing the world, ending Putin's influence in politics, diplomacy, business, sports, culture, research, and other spheres. Encouraging private business to divest from Russian assets and currency. Impose a visa regime for holders of Russian diplomatic passports blocking new visas and residency permit, and revoking existing ones for Russian officials and their families. Ukraine has officially appealed to the G7 countries regarding the status of Russia's and Belarus membership in the International Monetary Fund and all World Bank organizations. The war launched by President of Russia must be stopped. It's not in the interests of Russian and Belarusian citizens. Dear friends of Ukraine, we are grateful to the wide Ukrainian community who joined Ukraine in delivering the truth on Russia's war in Europe. Protests against Russian government held by citizens of many major nations throughout the world, including in Bangkok, demonstrate strong support to Ukraine in defending against Russia. We call on all foreign governments to demand from the Russian president that he immediately stops his war in Ukraine. The address must be subjective and directly to the aggressor state, Russia. Ending the war launched by Russia remains Ukraine's key priority. We urgently need ceasefire and humanitarian corridors for civilians to prevent their casualties. As you may know, several rounds of Ukrainian-Russian negotiations were held. The working groups are established. Ceasefire and withdrawal of Russian troops is discussed. The sides are working on a mutual document. What is essential for Ukraine? No ultimatums will be accepted by Ukraine, in particular on its territorial integrity. Priorities in the negotiation for the President of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelensky, are absolutely clear. The end of war, security guarantees, sovereignty, restoration of territorial integrity, real guarantees for our country, real protection for our country. We need international, legally binding, long-term guarantees of security. Such guarantees can be provided by the UN Security Council member states and Ukraine and Ukraine's neighbors, similar to the mechanism envisaged by the North Atlantic Treaty. Dear sirs, speaking to the US Congress on March 16, 2022, President of Ukraine Volodymyr Zelensky proposed to immediately create an association U24, United for Peace, a union of responsible states with the strength and conscience to stop conflicts. The initiative's aim is to provide all necessary assistance within 24 hours with military, humanitarian support, political, financial support to reach the peace. This association could provide assistance to those who are experiencing natural disasters, man-made disasters, who have become victims of a humanitarian crisis and epidemic. A new alliance that will ensure that each aggressor receives a coordinated response from the world. The war launched by Russian leadership must be stopped. It was not Ukraine who started it, but we must stop it. Thank you for your kind attention. Stand with Ukraine. Thank you, dear friends. I'm ready to listen and answering your questions.
Yes, please. Yes, sir.
Yes.
come to the front a bit. Okay.
คุณประวิตรครับเชิญนะครับ
Yes, good morning. Pravit from House of English. 2 or 3 questions. You mentioned that the invasion of Ukraine is not a special military operation as claimed by Russia, including the Russian ambassador who insisted that it was a special military operation on Tuesday. Could you elaborate on why what's happening in Ukraine or what Russia is doing? Definitely not a special military operation, but a war or invasion. Secondly, the Russian ambassador on Tuesday, at some point, I think he mentioned that there was a need for Russia to stage a war or special military operations in Ukraine in order to safeguard the safety of Russian-speaking people in parts of Ukraine. And when he was confronted with statistics that children have been killed in Ukraine over the past few weeks, nearly 3 weeks at that time, he replied by saying that why was the world or the international community when children and civilians in parts of the Russian-speaking area of Ukraine have been attacked by the Ukrainian government or military, and which also he claimed resulted in the death of children as well. I think the time span was like 8 years. Okay, and my last question is it now quite clear that the Ukrainian government will seek to become or maintain its neutral stand with regards to NATO? You know, we've been hearing more about the issue, and I think the president had mentioned that possibility that perhaps Ukraine will have to choose to become or remain a neutral country in order to appease Russia. Thank you very much. Oh, and one last thing. We heard that the Thai government, the Thai Foreign Ministry, have kindly asked that the small Thai national flags be removed from this conference. Could you tell us a bit about that and your feelings about that? Thank you.
Thank you for your kind of questions. About the situation and what is happening in Ukraine, it was clearly stated and shown on the video that you've seen now. In Ukraine, there is war in Ukraine. It's not a conflict. It's not some kind of special operation. And we continue to fight against Russians invaders. We know and we experience some humanitarian needs. We want to cope with this situation, and we give the very good response to the Russians invaders. Now many citizens of Ukraine are heavily damaged. Some citizens, especially like in region of Lugansk or Donetsk, are almost completely destroyed. Russian troops targeted civilians, forcing them to cooperate with them. They asking mayors of Ukrainian citizens to surrender, and of course the Ukrainian mayors disagree. So this is a full-scale war in Ukraine, Russian Federation, full-scale war of Russian Federation against Ukraine. this war, there's no need for Russian citizens, for Russian ordinary people to continue this war. This is the will of Russian government, of Russian high-ranking officials, and especially Vladimir Putin, to finish this war and to start and to finish this war. We don't see, and the international community does not see any threats from NATO for Russian-speaking citizens in any part of Ukraine. During the negotiations, Ukraine considers many proposals, especially neutral status of Ukraine. But I will clearly state that we will not accept capitulation. We will not accept ultimatums. We will fight until we win. Answering your questions about Thai flag, we understand the Thai government supports Ukraine on the way to achieve peace. And Thai government has voted in favor of UN General Assembly resolution on stopping war in Ukraine. This is most essential thing, and we hope that this support will continue, and as our friendly relations between our nations will last. Thank you.
Hello. Okay. Rachai from Original Daily. I have two questions. One is, how can you review that? Hello. Okay. Sorry. Can you review that some Thai citizens volunteer to join the international legions? Can you review some largest number right now? And the second question is, how can you solve some Thai comment about the war in Russia and Ukraine? Some Thai people is that they blame you, your government to decide to join the Nato or especially the EU. That's your cause to this such atrocity. How can you explain to them why did you decide to join NATO as your right of independent of self-determination to decide to join for your prosperity on growth for your Ukraine?
Okay, thank you. Concerning Thai volunteers, I would say the Ukrainian government has developed special informational resource website for all international foreign citizens that would like to join International Legion of Ukraine. Any person can visit the site and travel to Ukraine and help us to defend our country. At the moment, no Thai citizens volunteering in Ukraine and serving as military as militaries in Ukraine. Concerning joining Ukraine to NATO, we're trying to achieve this goal, and we still continue our efforts. But we consider any proposal and any variants, any options to stop war, to stop killing civilian people. That is a key priority for Ukraine. And we will continue to do many efforts to stop war. That is our absolute priority. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Brianna from Sky News Bureau. Regarding to the Ukrainians, stranded Ukrainians in Thailand, so from your data, how many of them are at the moment? And what sort of help that they are asking for? And what is your message to them, to the Ukrainians stranded in Thailand? Thank you.
Thank you. That is really a very important questions, and we are closely working with Thai government on this issue. According to our information, there are more than 3,000 Ukrainians staying in Thailand at the moment. They are unable to return. Almost all airports are destroyed. We try to provide them any kind of assistance in coordination with Thai government. First of all, Ukrainian government has launched a website called Prehistok in UA. Prehistok in Ukrainian means shelter. Any person around the world, and especially in Thailand, can go to this website and propose free accommodation for Ukrainians in need. For the moment, more than 20 proposals from Thai citizens received, and the Ukrainian people are really grateful for this opportunity to stay in Thailand in free accommodation, and to have a free accommodation in Thailand. We help our people to extend the period of their stay in Thailand. Issue letter of support to Immigration Bureau of Thailand to kindly ask them to consider extension of stay. And actually, we are closely working with Thai government to meet all basic needs for Ukrainians standing at the moment in Thailand. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Todd Reese with Coconuts. Just a question about, you said you thank Thais for the 7 million baht, I believe, they've contributed to Ukraine. Where has that money gone toward, and how, in what ways is it helping Ukraine, and what does the embassy plan to do to be sort of transparent about the funds it's received? Thank you.
Thank you. The issue of transparency is very essential, and we understand the sensitivity of the issue. We are doing that, and we will put the information on numbers of donations on our official informational resources. People can track where do money go, and we officially announced that we transfer this amount of money to the National Bank of Ukraine to help meet the Ukrainian humanitarian needs. We can do it almost on day-by-day basis, but at the moment we have sent almost more than 5 million Thai baht to National Bank of Ukraine. As money coming in, we immediately transfer them to National Bank of Ukraine. Moreover, we are trying to receive from the Thai bank the QR code, which can be used for Thai citizens to more easily transfer their donations for those Ukrainians in need. Thank you.
Lekha Shankar from the Asian Age India. The small question was, I don't know whether you gave figures of how many Ukrainians died in the war. I didn't get that figure. But the bigger question was about the President Zelensky. You know, his communicative skills from his previous vocation seem to really come into the fore now, that he could just pick up the mic and speak to the chambers, Parliament in Canada, America. Would you say that President Zelensky has really proved himself to be more than the whole world expected during this crisis, and probably due to all his easy communicative skills from his previous vocations?
President Zelensky is doing its best to stop war in Ukraine from any locations, from where he visits, where he has official visits, and from USA, Canada, any country. And we see that his messages are being accepted by the world community. That's the essential issue. He's suggesting some ways to solve the situation and to stop the war. And President Zelensky will continue these initiatives, and with his help, the Ukrainian people will see the prosperity of our country, I believe.
Hello, I'm from TV Asahi. I have 3 questions regarding evacuation from Ukraine. Do you think Thailand is one of the options for the evacuee from Ukraine to evacuate to Thailand? Is Thailand one of the options? And number 2 is, do you have a figure or number of people request to evacuate to Thailand? And number 3 is, do you request the Thai government to accept evacuee or refugee from Ukraine? Thank you.
Thank you. Of course, Ukrainian people coming to Thailand, and the numbers of people coming to Thailand cannot be compared to the Ukrainians' neighboring countries like Poland, Romania, and others. But as I mentioned, we have more than 3,000 Ukrainians staying in Thailand at the moment. And some of them continue, some people, some Ukrainians continue to come to Thailand in search for shelter, for hiding from horrors of war. So Thailand is the options for Ukrainians to stay peacefully and safely. We have asked Thai government to provide Ukrainians with all necessary help and assistance during their stay in Thailand. We shouldn't call the people that are coming to Thailand like refugees. I would call it temporary displaced persons. But the problem is they they don't have possibility to come back to Ukraine, and we help the Thailand will give them possibility to stay furthermore in Thailand until war ends. Thank you. Dear friends, I suggest you to have a live broadcast from Ukraine from right now. What is happening in this moment right now in Ukraine? If you don't mind, we will have a live broadcast. Thank you.
Да, я чую вас.
I wish actually to say good morning. It was really a problem. It's nice to be with you here. Here in Bangkok, on the press conference. You're on the big screen, which show which is surrounding you and what is around you.
So behind me you can see the building of the school in the very center of Zhytomyr, it's school number 25. We're something about 300 meters from the city capital, and it was ruined, it was bombed, there was a rocket here, and these rockets were shot by rocket. Russian propaganda says that they are shooting and attack only military facilities, military manufacturing, but this is really just school. From the 24th of February, there were huge number of attacks of all cities in Ukraine. And not only Zhytomyr, there were attacks on Kiev, Kharkiv, on Mariupol, on the city of Kherson, the eastern and southern part of Ukraine suffered from Russian invasion. And if you wish, I can show you some parts of attack from here. As you can see, in the building of the school, we had several attacks on Zhytomyr. We had attacks on civil buildings, the homes of local citizens, and as you see, it's not a military object. You can see here a journal of children with their classes, so you can see the books and different. These are books when people, when children are studying at the school. So we have big Russian invasion, and the big problem is that they use warplanes, they use spy planes, and that's a big problem. We need to defend our sky. We need to make no-flight zone in Ukraine, and it will help really a lot. For the 17th of March, yesterday day, we had information about 108 killed children. They were killed by Russians, and it's I don't even know how to comment this, because it's information, and this is the thing that Ukrainians will never forget. In everything else, I can answer your questions if you have them.
Please, if you have any questions to our person who is in Ukraine now.
ไม่มีใครทำอะไรครับทำยูเครนนะครับ
How many damage is presented in Mariupol from our the microphone here? Okay, please not I have a question. How many damage in Mariupol?
You mean how many people died in Mariupol? Or I'm sorry for my English; it's not so good.
Okay, it's okay. How many people died in Mariupol, and how many damage in the area of the city?
Mariupol is suffering from Russians because the Russian troops are all over the city. They are bombing it with flights. They bomb it with artillery, and a lot of people stayed in Mariupol because they haven't had no chance to evacuate. The number of killed people is really ranged something about 2,000 people, and it's awful just because people spend their time in basements. They try to hide from attacks, and Russians don't shoot only in military facilities, manufacturing, or trying to kill units of Ukrainian army. They are shooting everywhere. Yes, we had a shoot in Mariupol in the theater. There is a shelter in the theater, and civilian people stayed there, and they were shooted. But as far as I know, people are alive because shelter was really good, and it helps to save people's life.
I'm sorry, but I missed that. I thought it was Mariupol. He told me yesterday. Okay.
Thanks.
I went to the Russian.
I don't really hear you because there's something about.
Okay.
So can you please repeat?
Can you get louder here too? Okay. So I'm a local news reporter in Thailand, and I went to the Russian embassy 2 days ago, and the Russian ambassador said that the shelling on schools, maybe not this school, is because the Ukrainian army has been hiding their troops and weapons in the school. Is this the case for this shelling?
Yeah, I do understand your question. You mean that our soldiers are hiding inside buildings? Yeah. This is totally Russian propaganda, and our militaries are in the fields. They're fighting with Russians, with Russian occupants, and in this building where it was hit, were just 3 people. The director of a school, or somebody from management, and 2 guards of this school. They heard the situation that we have air attack, and they moved to the shelters. Only 3 people were here in this building looking for food. There were no soldiers. Soldiers are fighting. They don't hide.
Yes, please. Can you ask for me, if I have to, can you ask if he can describe his daily basis? How does he survive, the food, who is he with, where does he sleep at the moment, what's it like in his city?
All right. Here's the question, the next question from the media. So they're asking you to describe how is your daily basis now? Probably what is, how is everything is going for you these days? What actually like your day right now? Can you describe in the words of details? How is it like surviving life there?
For me personally, yes, of course. Yes, of course. I just worked with the football team. We were in the training camp in Turkey when the war started, and me and my colleagues decided to come back to Ukraine. And now we are in Zhytomyr. We are asking for foreign journalists to give, first of all, the information. We work as a fixers, and we get up early and go to bed really late. Most of the time we have air attacks, and we have alarm in our shelter, so we spend from time to time it may be a basement or other shelter which can save us from bombing. But for the last 3 days we have a little bit cool situation. We are in safe because our soldiers and our militaries are working there, saving lives, and they are trying to protect people. But from time to time we hear fight planes, and it's a bit scary. But we understand that we are on our ground, and we will stand this ground as long as we will be needed.
There is another question. The media is asking about the food, the water supplies. How is the situation now in Zhytomyr?
In Zhytomyr, the situation is good because stores and people markets are open. We have a lot of humanitarian in Zhytomyr. Our local authorities try to give this humanitarian aid and food and warm clothes to people who need this. And we have people from Makariv, is a city in Kiev region. It was all ruined by Russians, and have a lot of people who evacuate from there. They spend something about 2 weeks in basements. Can you just imagine this? People were not, they had no possibility to see the sky, see the sun. They spent 2 weeks, 14 days in a basement. And they are moving to Zhytomyr, and we are trying to evacuate them to the western part of Ukraine or abroad. In Zhytomyr we have, as I told you, we had a little bit cool situation because it's we're 130 kilometers from Kiev. It's a pretty large distance, but the northern part of Ukraine, the eastern part of Ukraine have huge problems with the food, with the water, with the warm in their house, because the Russians try to shoot and try to damage the infrastructure cities, and it's a big problem because those people aren't protected from this invasion, from this Russia.
Okay, thank you so much for answering. Dear friends, any more questions? I guess that's it for now. Yeah, and so thank you so much for being so brave. We definitely cannot imagine what you're going through there, but we're standing with you. Ukrainians, Thai people, stay strong. We hope all will end soon.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Slava Ukraini.
Thank you. Героям слава.
Okay, any more? Thank you for this streaming, and if any more questions.
I just wanted to ask you personally, you're here and your staff at the embassy, away from your home. How do you feel? What do you talk to each other about when you see what's happening in your home country? What is your feeling right now? Sad, anger, frustration? What is, general feelings among your staff here at the embassy?
Thank you. In general, you can imagine what I'm feeling. I'm feeling pain. I'm feeling I'm feeling very tired and anxious about it. I'm looking forward to see my family, because my family stayed in Ukraine. And actually, I just pray God for God to stop this war as soon as possible.
May I ask, your family staying in Kyiv, or are they? How are they?
They're staying in Kyiv. Yes.
Do you talk to them? How are they?
I talk with them. I'm talking with them every day, and they're afraid of this situation. They're afraid of bombing, but they're still there.
Telephone lines are okay?
Yes, telephone. We communicate with messengers.
Do you still talk with any of the colleagues here in Bangkok from the Russian embassy?
The answer is obvious. Yeah, of course, no. Yes, please.
Before the invasion by Russia, how did Ukraine intend to align the relationship with Western countries, NATO, EU, or even Russia? And when the invasion started, has this alignment has been changed, and how?
We look forward for Ukraine to be the civilized European country, and we are moving toward this civilized world. Our policy didn't change during the last period. We will be the member of European community. Thank you.
You mentioned that more than 3,000 Ukrainians are stranded here in Thailand. And yet you pointed out that only 20 offers have been made so far to provide a free accommodation to these stranded Ukrainians. Could you tell us whether any of these 20 cases have really materialized, or are they still just an offer? And what would you like to convey to the Thai public?
Yes.
Because 20 offers versus 3,000 people stranded is still really.
It should be understood that the whole amount of people staying in number of people staying in Thailand is more than 3,000, but not all of them are deprived of basic needs. Some can rent an apartment, some at the moment have possibility to stay in Thailand and to pay for their basic needs. These 20 proposals for those who urgently needing this accommodation and free accommodation. So, and actually we have we have not so much applicants to help in finding free accommodation. Some people are ready and have a financial possibility to stay here, and they use their financial possibilities. But someone really need help, and we and Thai people really help them by offering free accommodation.
For people who want to make donations, I know there are a lot of people who want to make donations. What is the system?
You can right now open our Facebook, see their account, our account details, and donate. And we will open soon the possibility to donate via QR code.
Just follow up on the Russian embassy here in Bangkok. Any words to your Russian colleague here in Bangkok at all?
I call on him, on all people to stop this war. They understand that this war is not in interest of Russian people. This war is initiated by Vladimir Putin. It's not the war of Russian people. It's war of Russian authorities at the moment. And they call us to be like there is no option, no other option. We should go to war. But there are still many options to achieve peace, to negotiate and to achieve peace. They tell us that Ukraine should be friendly, but if you kill us, how can you ask for us to be friendly? Stop killing us and we will be friendly. Thank you. My colleague supposed now for me to say that our system Prehistoc, our website Prehistoc is just received more than 100 offers for free accommodation. Just now, the updated information. So if no other questions, we will finish our press conference, and I would like you to thank you for this opportunity to be with us today, and I hope that you've got more understanding on what's happening in Ukraine. Let's stay with Ukrainians. We will win, for sure. Thank you.
พูดอย่างนี้ผมก็เลยได้มาลงมาสิ่งของไม่อยากรู้ว่ามันเป็นงานเก่าแน่เลยถ้าจะไม่ถึงไม่ได้เป็นสายที่คนกำลังเก่าแบบนี้แล้วเรื่องอย่างนี้เนี่ยใครหาเรื่องความภาษาดีแล้วแล้วไปหาตัวหาที่จำใส่ไปเยอะมากเลยอ่ะได้หรอกไม่ได้นะไม่มีไม่ต้องส่งตามมาตั้งแต่แรกทั้งสองฝั่งแล้วก็เก็บโครงแรมให้แล้วก็ต่อการสองมาคนเดียวขึ้นตัวมือหนึ่งน้ำหนึ่งเราไม่เข้าใจข้อมูล